Today we're going to talk about these 3 new eyeshadow palettes from Shellwe Makeup. I am so excited about these. I love Shellwe Makeup so much. These are going to be releasing on August 15th, 2023 at 10 a.m. GMT. I'm going to put up on the screen what that translates to in a few other time zones. These are sent to me in PR from Shellwe Makeup. Thank you so much to Shellwe for sending this to me. And I do have an affiliate code with Shellwe. It is SEEKINGSHIFTS and it will save you 10%. So as always, when I'm receiving products in PR and I have an affiliation with the brand, I am biased, but I'm going to try to remain as objective and fair as possible. So there are 3 different palettes, and each palette has a full-size version that will retail for $30 USD, and then a mini keychain version that will retail for $15 USD. The mini keychain palettes, I think they're just so fun. I'm not going to touch mine because I already have the full-size version, but I just want to show you. I know a lot of us have such large makeup collections. Good to offer something that has less product in it, but still allows you to experience a new brand. They are actually removable magnetic pans. Like I said, I'm not going to take them out, but you can like pry them out with a knife, or if you have a magnet tool. I mean, the keychain part is just fun. I think this is actually a popular trend in Chinese makeup. I heard somewhere that it's popular on Huaban, which is like the Chinese Pinterest. So if you know more about that, let us know in the comments. But I just think they're fun and cute. I love this thing on the front. I think it's so pretty. I can tell they put so much thought and care into these collections, and I'm so excited to show you guys the color stories. I think a lot of us have been disappointed in recent releases that are kind of bland, same thing over and over again. Shellwe is here putting out these exciting, carefully curated, and unique color stories that I think are definitely worth checking out. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, let's start with my personal favorite. I think this is the most exciting one. It's called Dove, or Deathless Spirit, and it's this like beautiful chartreuse blue sparkly black color story. So the first shade in here is called Saint, and you know I was losing my mind over this. It's this super sparkly, juicy, wet looking iridescent that shifts from teal to blue to purple. It's one of those eyeshadows that is so packed with these micro glimmers that it feels very smooth to the touch. If you did a thick layer, it would just look very shiny, but if you shear it out, you can really see all those tiny flecks of sparkle in there. It is absolutely stunning. Love it. You know I love iridescent. So next one is called Worship, and it's like an acid yellow chartreuse type shade. It also has a bunch of micro glimmers in it. It's pretty densely packed in the pan, so it applies with a finger, but I think it does apply better with a brush. The next one is called Myth, and it's a black with sparkles. This is actually an exact dupe to one of the shades in the Pat McGrath Mothership 3 palette. I will show the comparison here. I didn't think to include this in the main comparisons part because it's in a palette. I usually only think to include my singles, but it is so spot on. I just had to show you guys, like the texture, finish, everything is on point. Like the Pat McGrath shade, it does feel a bit gritty, but you'll see in the demo I just sprayed my brush with a little bit of water and it applied absolutely fine on my eyelid. Last shade is called Temple, and it's a deep muted navy blue. This is very pigmented, blended easily. It's a good matte formula. Not my favorite that I've ever tried, but overall I've had a good experience with it. This combination of colors and textures is just so beautiful and exciting to me, and it gets me out of my comfort zone. I was experimenting with layering and all different things you'll see in the demo. Absolutely love this one. Next up is called the Circus Palette, and this is like their more approachable, user-friendly color story. It has 2 neutral tones and then 2 more special vibrant shades. First shade is a matte called Earth, and it's described as a matte light brown. I describe it as like a mid-tone taupe. Next shade is called Lion, and it's a yellow to gold shifting duochrome, or I would think of it as a multi-chrome because I see like an orangey, bronzy gold to a yellow gold to green. I mean, not the most shifty shade, but I've seen other brands sell this as a single and they label it as a multi-chrome, so do what you will with that information. The next shade is called Clown, and it's a shimmer red. This is like a ruby red. It has more of a satiny, sheeny finish, so it's good for like building up a look, and it's a very true primary red. Then the last shade is called Juggling, and it's a matte dark brown, and I would just describe it as like a true neutral deep brown. The multi-chrome in the palette has that like flaky finish that smooths out easily, but it is a bit on the thicker side, so just something to be aware of. Overall, this palette just screams fall to me. Personally, at my skill level, I feel like there's only 1 or 2 looks I could do with this palette, so I feel like I would mostly use it as a companion palette once again to pair with other color stories, but I can definitely see a lot of ways I would incorporate these shades into looks. Next palette is called Octopus or Dream Escape palette, and this is like such a vibrant and unexpected combination of colors. I feel like I'm really excited to see what people who are more talented than me do with this color story. Like, I'm ready to see Millie's video because I know she's gonna pull out an amazing look. The first shade is called Reality, and it's a grayish silver, described as super shining, sparkling. Yeah, this is a really sparkly shade. I feel like it looks very silver in the footage, but in real life it's like a very soft, muted, like denim blue, but then it shears out to these silvery sparkles. The next shade is called Trigger, and this is a multi-chrome that shifts from red, orange, gold. It's not quite as shiny as the multi-chrome that's in the Liana palette, and I'll compare them later on in the video. The true star of the show in this palette is called Friendship, and it's a blue-purple shifting duochrome. It is so, I can't even describe to you how vibrant and intense this is in real life. It's very unique. I don't have anything quite like it. It is a flakier formula, but it smooths out really easily to a sparkly finish, or I feel like you could build it up to more of an opaque, shiny finish. Just absolutely stunning. And then the last shade is called Muse, and it's a more vibrant deep blue. It feels really dry and densely packed in the pan, but it was very easy to apply with a brush and blend out. I did not have any issues. This is definitely not a palette I would use on its own. It's going to be a companion palette for me, but I'm so excited about these colors. First look, we're using Deathless Spirit. I put some tape on my eye, but I ended up putting it too high, so like it was a complete waste of time. But anyway, we're using Temple first, and I'm building up in very small layers with a dense brush, just kind of like packing it on my corner and then building it up slowly. This is very pigmented, so I feel like if you're not as cautious as me, you could easily just pack on a bit with very little effort and then diffuse the edges. But like I said, I'm not very skilled with blending mattes, so I just work in slow, small layers. Next up, I'm taking Worship with a small blending brush. I definitely recommend using a more flat or tapered brush for this, but you'll live and you learn, right? So I'm just going on my inner corner and kind of like letting whatever's left over on the brush go up into my crease. Then I went in with a flat brush into Myth, and because it's a little bit dry and crumbly, I took some water. You don't have to use expensive canned water. I just happened to have that. Spraying it on there, and then I'm applying it on my lid. I had a tiny bit of fallout, which is to be expected with these types of shades, but honestly, it wasn't that bad at all. I was expecting so much more. And then once I packed it on, I just took a blank blending brush and I kind of diffused the edges and melded everything together just a tiny bit. Who would I be if I didn't slather this iridescent all over my eyelid? I'm taking Saint with my finger, and oh my gosh, look at it. Just putting it literally all over everything. Look at it. Oh my god, it is so juicy and wet looking, and I love how it looks layered over that sparkly black. Going back in with the deep blue shade Temple just to build up some of the depth that I lost from adding the iridescent on top. And that's everything. Here's a finished look. Sorry it's a little bit out of focus. I will share static posts on my Instagram. I love it. Okay, for the Circus palette look, I'm starting off with Earth with a fluffy blending brush and just building it up in my crease using swiping motions. It did build up on itself nicely and diffuse along the edges. Then I'm taking the deeper brown shade called Juggling and using a smaller blending brush to put it on my outer corner. Started off with just a little, then I got more confident and packed some more on to add depth to that outer corner. Then I took the blending brush from before with whatever residual product was left over on it and kind of just blended them together and created a gradient. Then I took the lighter brown shade Earth and went under my under eye with it just a tiny bit. Then I took Clown with a small blending brush. This is like the type of formula that you can use basically as a matte. If you pack it on, it will be a very opaque red, but I wanted just to do like kind of a wash over the mattes to blend them all together. So I applied a more sheer layer of it. Then I picked up the shade Lion with my finger and I'm going to apply it on the inner half of my lid, just tapping it on, and I went in with a flat brush just to do a more precise application in the very inner part of my eyelids, and I did get some fallout when I was using a brush, but it swept away easily. I feel like this color combination makes my eyes look so green because of like color theory, yada yada yada. But anyway, here's the final look. Sorry it's a little bit out of focus, but happy with how it came out. Okay, last look with the Octopus palette. I was honestly so intimidated to use just this palette for a look, but I started off with the shade Muse and I packed it on my outer corner with a dense small blending brush, applied and blended so beautifully. I was actually so impressed with it. Then I went ahead and went into Friendship with my finger and tapped it on my eyelid. Definitely my preferred way to apply these types of shades, but it's not the most precise, so it's really up to your own preferences. But as you can see, it's applying and smoothing out out really nicely. Went back in with the small blending brush and whatever product was left over on it, and I just kind of like diffused the edges and blended the two shadows together. Then I went in with a flimsy floppy brush in the shade Reality to get more of a twinkly sparkly effect, and I just applied that all over the innermost part of my eyelid. And there's my look. I wanted to use all 4 shades, but I don't have the skills, simply put. Comparison time. I accidentally kind of messed up the order on this one. Some of you are probably going to get annoyed, but whatever, at least I have them labeled. I did not want to do them twice. So first, for the Deathless Spirit palette, we have Terra Moon's Dark Side versus Myth from the palette, Worship from the palette versus Terra Moon's Caster, Glam Shop Moon Dust versus Saint. Any comparison shade with an asterisk I received in PR. For the Circus Palette, we have Terra Moon's Cerise Waves versus Clown, and then Shine by SC Gladiator versus Lion. Cerise Waves is a bit cooler toned than Clown, but I feel like the texture and finish is pretty spot on. And then Gladiator is like almost an exact dupe to Lion, but it's a bit more smooth rather than flaky. Okay, for the Octopus Dream Escape palette, we have Terra Moon's Multiverse versus Friendship, Clionadh Sandblast Light versus In Flames from the Shellwe Liana palette versus Trigger, and then Terra Moon's Moonshine versus Reality. Friendship is more opaque, vibrant, and less flaky compared to Multiverse. Sandblast Light is more sheer and dimensional than Trigger, and then In Flames is more shiny and intense compared to Trigger, and then Moonshine is kind of similar, but more of a muted and light tone. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you found it helpful. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.